Imagine a world where the person you trust most to protect you is the one preying on you. That's the chilling reality of François Vérove, a French police officer who turned out to be a serial killer. It all started in 1986, in the bustling city of Paris. An 11-year-old girl named Cécile Bloch disappeared on her way to school. Her parents frantically searched for her, but there was no sign. Days later, Cécile's lifeless body was found in the basement of her apartment building. She had been brutally raped and murdered. The police were baffled. Who could have done such a thing? As the investigation continued, it became clear that Cécile was not the only victim. A string of similar attacks linked a terrifying serial killer to the crimes. The killer was known as Le Griot, which means the Pockmarked Man, because of the scars on his face. The police were desperate to catch the killer. They combed through the city, interviewing witnesses and collecting evidence. But the killer was clever. He was using his knowledge as a police officer to cover his tracks. After years of investigation, the police finally got a break. They realized that the killer was probably someone they knew. They started looking at all the police officers who had been in the area at the time of the crimes. And that's when they found François Vérove. Vérove was a respected police officer. He seemed like a normal, upstanding citizen. But behind the facade, he was a monster. He had been preying on the people he was supposed to protect. When confronted with the evidence, Vérove confessed to his crimes. He explained that he had been struggling with dark impulses since he was a child. These impulses had led him to commit terrible acts. Vérove couldn't live with the guilt of his crimes. He took his own life, ending the nightmare for the victims' families. But the story doesn't end there. Investigators are still trying to figure out if Vérove was responsible for other crimes that have never been solved. To understand the mind of a serial killer like Vérove, it's important to look at his psychological profile. Experts believe he was a sadistic individual who enjoyed the power and control he had over his victims. His crimes were brutal and senseless, and he seemed to take pleasure in the suffering of others. One of the factors that may have contributed to Vérove's dark impulses was a traumatic event from his childhood. He revealed in his confession that he was raped by his father. This experience could have left him with deep-seated anger and resentment. The crimes committed by François Vérove had a devastating impact on the victims' families. They were left to cope with the loss of loved ones and the trauma of the attacks. Some of the families have spoken out about their experiences, hoping to raise awareness about the dangers of serial killers. Despite Vérove's confession, the investigation into his crimes is far from over. Investigators are still trying to determine the full extent of his actions and whether he was responsible for other attacks. The true weight of Vérove's confession was found in the letter he left for his family. In the letter, he admitted to being a great criminal who had committed unforgivable acts. He explained that he had been struggling with uncontrollable rage and violent impulses since he was a young man. Vérove's letter revealed the depths of his guilt and remorse. He expressed his love for his family and his hatred for the criminal he had become. He acknowledged that his crimes were unforgivable and that he wasn't asking for forgiveness. The case of François Vérove is a chilling reminder that anyone can be a killer, no matter how good they seem on the outside. It's also a testament to the hard work of the police who never gave up on solving these terrible crimes. The story of Vérove serves as a warning about the dangers of judging people based on appearances and the importance of seeking help for those struggling with dark impulses. The legacy of François Vérove will continue to haunt the victims' families and the community for years to come. His crimes were a horrific reminder of the evil that can exist within us all. It's a story that serves as a cautionary tale and a call for greater awareness of mental health issues and the importance of seeking help.